Today I hit my max number of losing trades, which is 3. I took most of my trades within about an hour, hour and a half time span in the morning, and they were all counter trend. They were all trying to force this same inverse head and shoulders setup. Um, and yeah, I'm not proud of it. I had planned and charted where the ideal entries were far before I took any of these setups, yet I couldn't follow them. So the goal today is to review these trades, and review less so the technicals and more so just my you know my practical abilities with regards to patience and actually planning for setups and executing it properly, because this has been such a massive issue for me for the past couple of weeks. Actually, probably about a month and a half, 2 months now. So let's go over it and see what comes up. Actually, I want to go over the first trade of the day, which was here. I actually had a friend of mine marked out in yellow, where the liquidity is and where these ideal entries were. So at the time, we had this white tapered channel, and I had charted that I wanted to enter on the break of this white channel, forming the right shoulder here as support, which is Eric's pink level. And I mean, clearly I couldn't wait for it. Clearly I saw green and I wanted to chase green. I wanted to get in at the head. I wanted to be fancy. I wanted to rush, even though it's counter trend. We're clearly in a downtrend, no significant higher lows or higher highs. So I'm just, I'm worried. I'm all caring so much more about RR and trying to be fancy and doing all these kind of stupid things that don't follow my original plan, rather than actually waiting and taking the best setups. And I entered here. I kind of the moment I entered, I was like, oh my god, I messed up again. This was not the setup I wanted. So I got out pretty quickly for a small loss, which is good that I was able to stop myself and relax and just, be done. But then like a minute or two later, those feelings come back and I start seeing this green candle. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going to form the head here. It's going to be like, excuse the mess, but, head here. And then we're going to break out here and I can add right here. And that's just ridiculous. Like, that's totally... that's just projecting your will. That's hope trading. It's not actually like, we actually haven't done any of that as confirmation. So it's irresponsible. It's undisciplined trading. And I also want to talk about particularly the emotions of today. I mean, this was my first trade of the day, and I already set my day off with a bad tone. But I said to myself, this is just trade one. I can make this back in, I can make 2 times of this back in one good trade. And I just I took 15 whatever it was minutes just to reset and relax. And I felt like I did. I felt like, I talked to some people, I reviewed the trade, I listened to some music, I just, drank water, whatever. I felt better. And I was like, this one trade is not going to define me. It's not going to define my day. So that was that. And the moral of the story with this trade is be disciplined enough, be patient enough to wait for this right shoulder. Get rid of that bias, get rid of trying to force your will in the market, and actually wait for your setup to play out. And then, it's only 15, 20 minutes later, and I make the exact same mistake again. We have, and look, there's slightly more confirmations here. Triple Q is forming a large support. Broke red selling channel. You see this red selling channel, and we were retesting it, forming these strong bull bars. But where is the right shoulder? I told myself last time that I need to be disciplined to wait for the right shoulder, and my friend also charted it here, right? So this is that left shoulder liquidity. We need to grab it here with the break of this tapered blue channel and this tapered white channel. But see how I take the break of this red channel, but there's not enough confirmations here. It's still downtrend. It's still a very aggressive downtrend, and we can't break out of the white channel here, or the blue channel. So I'm just stuck, and of course I get stopped out. Because I'm just trading counter trend, and I'm not being disciplined enough to follow that right shoulder setup. So I made a plan to only enter on the right shoulder. This is the best setup, the one with the most confirmations and an overall great trade. Why did I not take it? Why did I try to enter? And it's greed. It's trying to be fancy. It's trying to be impressive. It's my own ego, my own just lack of patience, stupidity, my impulsiveness, bad habits. Yeah. So not proud with either of this. And then the final trade of the day, again, it's the same. I was trying to take the same setup, all 3 trades, and it's like you're forcing your will into the market. I thought I reset, And the question is, in the future, if you have a setup that you want to take and it doesn't work out, how do you refresh and reset your brain to be like, okay, I'm done. I'm not going to be, wasting my time trying to take it again and again and again and just forcing your will. Because this head and shoulder, once it started playing out and it retested this breakout point of this wedge, of this green buying channel, and we retested it, you have a large 5-minute rejection, and the setup becomes very clear. But I wanted to get in here. Why? Because I had to take this right shoulder. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been waiting for this whole day. Now that it's here, I don't see a clear microstructure. I don't see a clear retrace. I don't see any sort of clear indications that this is strong enough to break us out. But I had to get in anyways, right? Because I was like, oh, I prepared for this, which is just stupid, And someone else mentioned, Ridham, who's a really amazing trader, mentioned, I know who it is, right? But he mentioned very clearly that this level here with pink is where the liquidity needs to be on the breakout of this orange channel, right? Like that's the best spot to be going for this right shoulder. It needs to be once we break out and we form here, the right shoulder needs to form above this support level, right, which was pink on Eric's chart, which Ridham said, and it needs to be forming outside of this orange taper channel. That way we complete the cup. That's the best setup. That's the setup you should be looking to take. And that's what Ridham was explaining. And he said, he came up here, but there wasn't enough confirmations here. This is still within that orange channel. As I said earlier, I kind of stuttered over my words, but like I said, that he's in my group, so not that. I'm assuming most people watching this will obviously know who he is, so not that so it's besides the point. Anyways, he's totally correct. He was totally more patient and more assertive in his rules with how he wanted to enter the trade, which was that he wanted us to break above this support level, this level here, form a right shoulder support, right, and actually break out of this orange channel, confirming that the bulls were in control and that there was a cup here. So that's that. And before I go over the best trades, I just want to talk more like how do I work on this? How do I improve my patience? How do I improve my discipline? And I think very simply it comes down to planning my trades and actually building the habit of following that plan. My personality comes through. I have an issue where in my normal life I hate following plans. I hate being told what to do. I always like to deviate from the norm. That's just how I am as a person. That's my personality. And with trading, I can't even follow my own plan, right? And that's such a massive issue. So that's one thing I really need to fix. And as two friends of mine have mentioned, Scar and Garrett, is that my analysis and my theoretical analysis is good enough where I can go over and I could look at these trades and I can explain them in detail. I'd explain them to myself and to others. However, my practical knowledge, my experience is just, it's not there. It's too, nothing has been really pieced together yet. And look, I only really started consistently coming to the market in May of this year, and that's when because I joined Eric's group in January, and I was clueless. I was absolutely clueless, but I knew he was special. But even still, I was wasting my time studying ICT and order flow and all of this other stuff that it wasn't until, and I wasn't trading on a day-to-day basis, and it wasn't until May that I was like, I'm going to sit in front of the computer every morning and watch Eric and study the stuff. And now I'm running into this hurdle of now that I feel like I have the knowledge to look at a chart and see all these possibilities, all these setups. The question for me now is, how do I actually turn that knowledge into an actionable plan? And it's about simplifying the knowledge first and foremost. It's about being able to be patient and disciplined and calm enough to execute those trades. And it's simply about being able to just stay relaxed, follow the plan, execute accordingly. Don't deviate from what your analysis tells you. You're deviating from your edge. You're trading off emotions. You're trading off greed. You're trading off of whatever it is, off of trying to prove something. And that's my problem. Yeah, that's where I'm at with this. Is I really have to work on the practical, just very, like, pragmatic, simplified, concrete, actionable, objective approach to, rather than all of this like theory, subjective, whimsical stuff. It's not enough. I'm weak. I'm so weak in the other sense. Yeah. Okay, so let's go over the best setups of the day. First off, we have this kind of morning wedge forming here, right? And look, this is not a setup I would personally take, but it looks good. It looks good here because you have this strong rejection of this level forming that head, left shoulder, right shoulder, and then we break aggressively, not only through this controlled green channel, but through VWAP as well. And you have this higher volume coming in here, rejecting it, and then lower volume forming that right shoulder, right, as it goes through this area. So I think that's a great setup, and you take this channel down, and then we have this chop zone here, and you have liquidity up here, you have liquidity up here, right? Sorry, liquidity up here, liquidity up here. And you have these tapering channels, this green channel, and then you start to taper into this orange channel up here. And the thing is, we have this zone of liquidity of chop, and we break to the downside, triggering all of these stop orders and of stop losses, bull stop losses, and also breakout short traders. We immediately retrace in, and this was the setup Eric was talking about, right? Where we have this orange channel here, and you can re-enter long on the break of this controlled orange channel. Sorry, that was white, but you get the point, and if you remember from the analysis that he said. So this is like a good liquidity sweep, break through the other side. I think that's a great setup. And you have this bull bar engulfing it, getting back into range, and will very likely test the upper side of the range, and we do. And then we come up, and Eric notes that there was this teal, sorry, this is magenta, but this teal controlled buying, and my magenta controlled buying, and we form this head and shoulders here, right at VWAP, right? And we get this large candle breaking down, breaking below VWAP, breaking below the 200 exponential moving average, breaking below a lot of this kind of key area here that we were forming, because this is a point of interest, at least for how I like to analyze trades. This is a point of interest because this was the same spot where before here everything was fine, and then we break out. So the market will often probe and retest, right? So we break out of this green channel and we retest that point of the breakout right before, right? So we come up and we test that little area, just like that, right? And we test that area right before the breakout point just to test, okay, are there sellers still here? And Eric has mentioned this in the past, right? Like areas where we have, I think in the September 25th or September 26th video, there was a trade where we broke down very aggressively. And then he said, well, now the market wants to probe and test. Are there still sellers in this area where there was the breakout? And clearly, with this head and shoulder forming, there's sellers still here. And even more so, if we go to a higher time frame and we check in on this, you have very beautifully this massive upper rejection of this point, right where the breakout is. And if you're you can call this a supply zone, whatever it is. We test this zone, we break out of this zone, and we come back and we retest it, and we put in this massive 5-minute rejection wick, right? This candle, if I were to show you with buying and selling volume of aggressive orders, you would see that there's more aggressive selling volume on this candle than buying volume, because look how much rejection of the upper levels there were, and it's also rejecting the top of this magenta channel. So this was my cue to be like, hey, be careful, sellers are here, there's something going on. This is a hard stop in momentum. You have to be careful. And this isn't even the best bullish setup. The best bullish setup, as I mentioned here, would be if we reclaim this pink level, and we form that right shoulder, right? forming the cup. But that's what it is today. So I think this was gorgeous. We retest this breakout point. We have that 5-minute rejection wick. We're at the top of this selling channel. This is just a bear flag, right? This whole thing, this magenta channel, is just a bear flag. The teal channel is the pull, and the magenta is the flag. And I'm actually curious what it is, if it's a golden pocket retracement. Yeah, just about a golden pocket retracement. I need to use my fibs more. But anyways, and actually by using my fibs, I feel like that organizes my trading, because it forces me to look for key areas where I want to see retracements and only trade in those areas, right? Anyways, so we chart down. I mean, we kind of boo, 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 right in this very wide channel here, and this is an RR style trade where you have this tapered channel and you have this strong bull bar breaking above this whole liquidity area, and you can buy on a continuation above. And also, there's some sort of selling algos here that are keeping us down, and we break out of it. But really, I think the great setup is when we complete this cup here, and this cup breaks us out of the white channel. See, this cup forms, breaks us out of the right channel, and then we retrace here, forming the handle and holding support above, support, holding those wicks above that white channel, and that's a great trade. And then you have to deal with this, but so in my opinion, not a great day for setups, but look, there were opportunities to make money, so that's just, that's how it is. So yeah, thank you.